The rain had finally eased off by mid-afternoon, but the sky over South London still hung low and gray. The kind of drizzle that clings to your coat and seeps into your shoes. Inside their semi-detached home in Clapham, Margaret Whitmore was halfway through her Saturday deep clean. She'd already hoovered the carpets, Brits rarely say vacuumed, preferring the brand turn verb hoover, and was now mopping the kitchen tiles with a mixture of warm water and lemon-scented, all-purpose cleaner. Her arms ached. At 46, she wasn't as spry as she used to be. And Emma, her 20-year-old daughter, had promised to help. "Just need to pop out for a bit, Mom," she'd said that morning, already halfway out the door in that pink frock she loved so much. In British English, a frock is an old-fashioned but still understood term for a dress, especially a casual or feminine one. Emma's was cotton, knee-length, with tiny white daisies, a gift from her grandmother. Charming, yes, but impractical for a rainy day. Margaret rang out the mop, the chore a solitary, thankless ritual. She'd asked Emma 3 times this week to tackle the dusting and sort the laundry, but each time Emma had waved her off with a breezy, "I'll do it later. Mom, I'm not a child." And yet here Margaret was, on her hands and knees, scrubbing the skirting boards while her daughter was off gallivanting with friends, prioritizing her social life over the minimal effort required to maintain their shared space. Just then, the front door burst open. "Mom, you'll never guess what happened at the park," Emma called out, still on the phone. She stepped inside, muddy trainers still on, and strode straight across the freshly mopped hallway into the living room. Margaret froze. Her heart hammered against her ribs, the sudden spike of adrenaline burning away her fatigue. The clean, quiet dignity of her effort was shattered. There, in stark contrast against the gleaming linoleum, were muddy footprints. Not just 1 or 2, 6 clear, brown smudges leading straight to the sofa where Emma flopped down with a dramatic sigh. Oblivious to the destruction she'd just wrought, the phone still pressed to her ear. It was a physical violation of the peace she had worked all morning to create. "Emma Louise Whitmore," Margaret said. Her voice low but sharp as a knife, the full name a signal of severe displeasure. Emma glanced up, blinking, finally pausing her call. "Oh, sorry, Mom," she said, a dismissive tone already creeping into her voice. She kicked off her trainers haphazardly near the radiator, one landing upside down, a symbol of her general lack of regard. "It's only a bit of mud. Won't hurt anything." "Only a bit," Margaret echoed, stepping into the living room, arms crossed, her entire posture radiating exhausted frustration. "I've been hoovering, mopping, wiping down every surface since 9 this morning. I asked you to help. You said you would." Emma rolled her eyes, a gesture that sliced deeper than any spoken word. The casual dismissal of her mother's effort was palpable. "I'm 20. Mom, I don't need to be told to clean like I'm 5. And I was out with Chloe," her boyfriend proposed. "It's not like I was clubbing." "That's not the point," Margaret said, her voice trembling slightly with the effort of control. "It's about respect for this home. For me, you knew I was cleaning. You saw the buckets, the cloths, and you walked right in with muddy shoes on. On purpose, it seems." "I didn't mean to," Emma snapped, sitting up, her defensive anger rising to meet her mother's intensity. "You're making a mountain out of a molehill." But Margaret had reached her limit. In modern British families, while discipline has become more conversational and democratic, there remains an expectation of mutual responsibility, especially when adult children live at home. Emma acted like a guest, not a family member who shared the burden. And the muddy footprints were the ultimate visual proof of her negligence. "Get up," Margaret said firmly, her voice quiet but carrying the force of final authority. "Why?" Emma challenged, crossing her arms stubbornly. "No, I'm not a kid you can order around. I'll do it later." "You've said that all week," Margaret replied, her voice resolute. the disappointment a heavy shroud over her words. And later never comes. If you won't act like an adult who takes responsibility, then perhaps you need a reminder that actions have consequences. Even at 20, before Emma could protest further, before the argument could devolve into a shouting match, Margaret guided her gently but firmly onto her stomach on the floor, an action that was sudden, shocking, and irreversible. She lifted the hem of the pink daisy frock just enough, pulled the cotton fabric taut, and delivered 3 swift, light paddles with her hand more symbolic than harsh, designed to startle rather than inflict real pain. The shock, the breaking of the social contract of adulthood, was the intended effect. Emma gasped, not from pain, but from shock, a high, sharp intake of breath. Her face flushed crimson, the heat of humiliation spreading across her skin. No one had done that since she was 12, the memory a ghost from a childhood she thought was sealed and gone. Silence hung thick in the air. The only sound was the faint hum of the radiator. Margaret's hand trembled slightly as she stepped back, her own heart pounding a frantic rhythm of regret and necessity. "I didn't want to do that," she said softly, her voice strained. "But you left me no choice. This isn't about punishment. It's about you understanding that living here means pulling your weight. It means respecting the labor that keeps this house a home." Emma stayed still for a long moment, the shock pinning her to the floor. Then slowly she pushed herself up. Her eyes were glistening, but she didn't cry. The tears were held back by a rigid pride, but her defiance had been utterly replaced by a raw, profound shame and a dawning understanding. Instead of arguing, instead of protesting her adulthood, she walked to the utility cupboard, pulled out a clean cloth, and knelt by the muddy prints without a single word. She began to scrub, the simple, grinding action of physical start to her amends. Margaret watched, heart aching, the mother's pain mirroring the daughter's humiliation. She remembered Emma as a little girl, always trailing mud, always apologizing with wide, earnest eyes. Now she was a woman, but still learning what true responsibility truly meant. After a few minutes, Margaret fetched the mop bucket and set it beside her. "Here," she said, handing Emma the mop, the gesture a quiet acceptance of her daughter's first step. "The hallway needs another pass." Emma took it, nodding, accepting the task. They worked in quiet tandem, the mother and daughter united by the shared effort. Emma mopping, Margaret wiping the baseboards. The tension eased, replaced by the soft slush of water and the clean, bright scent of lemon cleaner. Later, over cups of tea proper builder's brew, 2 sugars for Emma, none for Margaret, the silence softened to comfortable presence. Emma finally spoke, the words difficult but necessary. "I'm sorry, Mom. I really am. I keep thinking because I'm at uni and have my own life, I don't need to be here properly." Margaret reached across the table, squeezing her daughter's hand, the gesture a warm seal of forgiveness. "You'll always have your own life, love. But home isn't just a roof. It's a shared space and shared effort. It's what makes us family." Emma smiled faintly, the remorse genuine. "Next Saturday, I'll start cleaning at 8, promise." Margaret chuckled, the small sound breaking the last of the tension. 8 might be pushing it, but 10 will do. Outside, the rain began again, soft, steady, very British. But inside, the air was clear, scrubbed clean of resentment and misunderstanding. Evening settled over the Clapham street, the last amber light of autumn fading behind the terrace rooftops. Inside the lounge, now spotless, smelling faintly of lemon polish and Earl Grey, the young woman sits cross-legged on the floor in her pink daisy-patterned frock, now clean at the hem, but still softly wrinkled from the day's events. Her muddy trainers have been left outside the back door, replaced by fuzzy gray socks. Her blonde hair is loose again, catching the warm glow of the table lamp. The older woman, still in her navy blouse and gray trousers, places 2 fresh mugs on the low coffee table, a proper lounge in British parlance, though many still call it the living room or even the front room depending on the region. She settles into the armchair opposite, her ponytail finely undone, brown hair falling around her shoulders. No words are needed. The silence isn't heavy. It's the kind that comes after honesty, after boundaries have been drawn and respected. On the sideboard, a framed photo shows the same 2 figures years ago, a little girl in a pink dress, grinning with muddy knees, held up proudly by a younger version of the woman now sipping tea across from her. The young woman reaches for a digestive biscuit, breaks it in half, and offers a piece without looking up. The older woman takes it with a small, tired smile. Outside, a neighbor calls to their dog. A bus rumbles down the high street. Life goes on. But inside this modest British home, something has shifted. Not in grand gestures, but in muddy footprints cleaned, in shared silence, in the quiet dignity of being seen, not just as a daughter or a mother, but as 2 people trying their best under the same roof. And sometimes, in the mundane, that's enough. Margaret felt the physical action was necessary to break through Emma's adult defiance. Do you believe that kind of shock-based consequence is ever justified when dealing with an adult child living at home? Emma felt her college life meant she shouldn't have to clean like she's 5. Where do you draw the line between a young adult's independence and their obligation to a shared home? The mother felt the issue was about respect more than the mud itself. What subtle actions in a shared living space show respect to the people you live with? If you were Emma's mother, what alternative consequence, besides the physical discipline, might you have tried to effectively teach the lesson of responsibility? The story ends with them sharing a biscuit. What's one small, silent ritual that helps you repair a relationship after a difficult argument?